All right, that was the game between Nigeria and Zimbabwe. Played on Sunday in Kigali, Rwanda. Edafe Ese-Oghene is the CEO, Elegbete TV. He's live on the program this evening. Glad to have you on the show today, Matthew Edafe. Do you consider these recent terrible performances by the Super Eagles as the beginning of the end for Nigeria's 2026 World Cup dream?
Well, I'll be lying if I don't consider it. First off, let me say good evening to you, Promise, and a good evening to the global audience that is listening to the show. But since July 13th, 2023, I tweeted after the draw that we might not qualify for the World Cup, and people, didn't take that note of warning. They thought I was just crying wolf out of nothing, and I was seeking clout. The thing is, the Super Eagles have not had a team, and we keep saying it. The annoying part is most of us in the media and Nigerians have this delusional mindset that we have a world-class group of players, world-class team. But in reality, we don't have a team. I don't know when anybody out there started watching football, but I started watching football since 1986. Since 1986 to now, this is the first time in my whole football following history, both as a player, as a coach, as an administrator, and as a media practitioner, that a goalkeeper would take 6 years and still not know how to be a goalkeeper. Francis Ozo have been a goalkeeper with the Super Eagles for 6 years. And if you look at this team in the last 4 or 5 years, we've not had a proper defense. We've not had a midfield that we can say these are midfielders. The set of people that play midfield in the Super Eagles today would never, I repeat, never make any of the previous Super Eagles team from 2013 back into the 50s. So that tells you how bad we have become. While as the other part of Africa, the rest of the world are improving, we are not improving. I mean, I could bet that we will not even be able to beat Gibraltar if we play against them, even though France beat them 14 goals to nothing. Having said that, people always, get this mistake of saying we have some of the best attackers, Victor Osimhen, Terry Murphy, Taiwo Awoniyi, Victor Boniface, and a host of others. True. But if you understand football structurally, you will know that strikers play instinctively. So they are always benefiting at the end of a great pass or a great creation of a movement that is created by the midfielders, and their pathways is set open. We have not had that for years. And again, historically, let's even look at how Nigeria has worked. Our national team have always done well only when you put competition between the domestic league players and the foreign-based players. But today, we have players who are birthrighted to play in the national team. We have 4 midfielders that we're always going to call, so they don't need to struggle to play. There's no competition. We have a goalkeeper that is anointed to be there. We need to save him. If not, something bad will happen. The entire world economy will collapse if he doesn't stay in goal. And then we have defenders who, at best, should not even be playing together, who are like strange bedfellows playing together. How do you expect that team to be winning games? Anybody takes on the Super Eagles know that there are disjointed ball joints in this team, and they can be taken apart.
So, with all this you have mentioned, Ese-Oghene, where exactly does the problems lie for the national team?
It's a compendium, so it's not just one. First, we don't have a goalkeeper, so we need a coach who is strong enough to say, you know what, I can't find these goalkeepers in Europe. Let me be bold enough to come to Nigeria and watch the domestic league, because the solution to every country's national team is in their domestic league. So you either say to yourself, since Europe is no longer offering us, let's not stick our neck and say, oh, it is Europe or nothing. Europe is no longer giving us the quality that they used to give to us in Finidi George, in Sunday Olise, in Amokachi, in Yekini, Tijani Babangida, and the rest of them. Let's come back home. If we had spent the last 3 years focusing on intermittent camping of the domestic players, we would have built a team that the European players would just come and be like the icing on the cake. That's the only way out. We keep doing this thing. We did it with Ganadra, we did it with Sunday Olise, we did it with Samson Siasia, we did it with Iguavon. It's not going to work. It is obvious that it's not going to work. We're doing the same thing, expecting different results. It's not going to work. Let us be bold enough. The Zimbabwe that drew with us used domestic players. The Lesotho that came here and understood our tactics, set themselves up in such a way that we could not break them down, use their local players. So what is really the thing about us that is making us afraid to use our local players? Like, oh, if we use our local players, they'll beat us 100-0. I don't understand.
I guess the conversation around the MPFL players has been the fact that the MPFL itself has not really been so good enough in terms of the structure of the league and all of that. So,
promise. Let me ask you.
Okay.
Promise. You have two. You have one person who went to Harvard, graduated, have all the degrees, and you want to employ. You have two people to employ in your company, and then there's another one who went to probably, let's say, for the sake of this conversation, had 10 years to do a 4-year course because of strikes and the rest, but he understands the terrain. If given the chance, he will survive. The one who's coming from Harvard is telling you that, oh, your company does not have this, your company does not have that, it's even coming to help you. Who are you going to employ?
Interesting one there, Ese-Oghene, Edafe. All right, we have a couple of games coming up in the World Cup qualifying series. I think we can have a confirmation of that on the screen now. Our next set of games in the World Cup qualifiers will be sometime in June next year. And those games, I think, will be against South Africa and against the Republic of Benin. We'll play the Bafana at home and then travel to Benin Republic, who is now being managed by former Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr. Are you saying that the Eagles will not qualify from that group?
If we still have Jose Peseiro as our manager, I mean, obviously we fired after the Nations Cup. But if we still have him as our manager, we would not qualify for the World Cup. Because one of the hallmark of coaches is stubbornness. Every coach have to be stubborn. But you see, the thing is, the stubbornness of a coach is like the samurai sword. You will live and die with it. There is a point you get to where that stubbornness becomes a cancer. It begins to eat you deep. Our coach does the same set of mistakes. He's very predictable. His changes are predetermined before the game starts. So they are not tactical changes that says, oh, we didn't expect this opposition to play like this. Let us change. Now, South Africa, let's hope that hypothetically they win tomorrow. I was doing that on my show this morning. South Africa has 6 points. Their strongest opponent have 2 points after 2 games. South Africa will do everything to come get a draw in Nigeria. And if hopefully they get a win, that's fine. Gernot Rohr will not lose 2 games to Nigeria. I don't care what anybody thinks. Even if Gernot Rohr use truck pushers from the streets of Benin Republic, Gernot Rohr will not lose 2 games to Nigeria. So we still have a lot of losses on the road. We might still go to Lesotho and not win. This team does not have a coach. See, I am the last person in football history to call for the sacking of a coach. But we've reached a place where it is obvious, ostensibly clear, even the blind can see it clearly, that we don't have a coach. So I don't really want to bother myself if we don't sack him after this. The only reason we're afraid to sack him is that we have not paid Gernot Rohr the money we're owing him. If we sack him now, who will pay all of the excesses that will come from sacking him? I understand. But if he's still the coach, by the time we play South Africa and Benin Republic next year, June, we'll pick only 1 point and our World Cup qualification is done.
All right. Ese-Oghene, Edafe, thank you so much for touching base with us on the program today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.